Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down a really powerful management philosophy that can totally transform any process just by focusing on one single thing, its weakest link.
So does this look familiar? You know that feeling where it seems like no matter what your team does, work just keeps getting stuck, piling up in one specific spot? It's like a frustrating logjam. And because of that one bottleneck, what happens? Crucial deadlines start slipping. And this doesn't just mess up one project, right? It sends these stress waves all across the organization.
But here's the really weird part. Every single person seems incredibly busy. I mean, nobody's slacking off. And yet the whole system, the entire process, just isn't moving any faster.
So that makes you wonder, right? If everyone is optimized and they're all working at full capacity, why on earth isn't the whole process getting any better?
Well, the answer lies in a kind of secret that every single system has. Whether we're talking a factory, a software team, or even just a troop of hikers, there's always a single limiting factor that's dictating its total performance.
This whole idea was really brought to life by Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt in his, believe it or not, novel from 1984 called The Goal. He called this the theory of constraints, and he argued that every complex system is like a chain, and it has a single point that controls its total output. And this weakest link is what we call a constraint. And listen, it could be pretty much anything. A piece of equipment, a specific person on your team, a company policy. It's the one thing that's holding everything else back.
To make this idea super clear, The Goal tells this perfect little story about a hiking trip. You've got this group of boys on a long hike, but the troop keeps getting spread out and delayed. So what's the problem? Well, it's one boy, Herbie, who happens to be the slowest hiker. The troop's overall speed isn't set by the fastest kid way up at the front. It's set by the slowest one. Herbie is the constraint. So how'd they solve it? It was actually brilliant. First, they put Herbie right at the front of the line to set the pace for everyone. Then, they took the heavy stuff out of his backpack and had the other hikers carry it. By supporting their constraint, the entire troop, as a whole, was able to move faster together.
So this isn't just a nice story, right? The theory of constraints is a practical method. It's called the 5 focusing steps, and it's basically a playbook for systematically managing your own Herbies.
This is what's known as the process of ongoing improvement. First, you identify the constraint. Then, you exploit it, which means getting the most out of it without big changes. Third, you subordinate everything else to support it. Fourth, you elevate the constraint by investing resources. And finally, you repeat the cycle, because, once you fix one bottleneck, a new one is always going to pop up somewhere else.
So once you've found that constraint, step 2 is to exploit it. Now this just means getting the absolute most out of it without spending any money. Make sure it's only working on the top priorities and that it never, ever sits idle. It's all about being smarter, not richer. Okay, so you've done everything you can to support the constraint, you've exploited it, but it's still not enough. That's when you move to step 4, elevate. This is where you actually invest resources. Maybe you hire more people, you buy a faster machine, or you improve training to boost that constraint's capacity. So how do you manage the day-to-day flow of work around this one constraint? Well, TOC has this really elegant scheduling tool for this, and it's known as drum buffer rope. It's a simple metaphor, but it's perfect for keeping the entire system in sync. Think of it this way. The constraint acts as the drum. Just like in a marching band, it sets the tempo. The speed of your constraint dictates the speed of your entire process. Everything else has to march to its beat. Next, you have a buffer. This is a strategic little pile of work that you keep queued up right before the drum. It's a shock absorber, really. It makes sure that any little problems upstream don't cause the most critical part of your system to run out of work.
And finally, you have the rope. The rope is basically a signal that's tied from the drum all the way back to the start of the line. It tells the beginning of the process when to release new work, making sure work is only pulled into the system at the same pace the drum is working. It prevents overload and keeps everything perfectly synchronized.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but let's get to the crucial question. What happens when organizations actually do this? Does this laser-focused approach actually work in the real world?
The results, they're honestly staggering. An academic review of over 100 companies found they achieved a 68% average increase in revenue or throughput after implementing TOC. I mean, think about that. A massive gain just from focusing on that single weakest link.
And the gains go way beyond revenue. On average, these same companies also cut their lead times by almost 70%. They reduced their inventory by half and improved their on-time delivery by 60%.
It's a true system-wide transformation.
And this isn't some niche tool just for factories. No way. It's been used everywhere, by global giants like Mazda and Microsoft, in healthcare to speed up diagnostics, and even by the entire government of Lithuania to improve public services. But beyond all those impressive numbers, maybe the biggest impact of the theory of constraints is how it just fundamentally shifts the way leaders and managers approach problems. So here's how it's different. You've probably heard of Lean, which is all about removing waste, or Six Sigma, which focuses on reducing variation. TOC is relentlessly focused. It basically argues that improving anything other than the constraint is a waste of your time. It totally changes the question you ask yourself. Instead of trying to improve everything all at once, you ask one much more powerful question, and that leads to way sharper priorities and truly impactful decisions. So, as we finish up, I want you to think about your own work, your team, your organization. What is your Herbie? Find that single bottleneck that's holding you back, and then focus all your energy on helping it move just a little bit faster.